Welcome back to the Intelligent Builder podcast, sponsored by Plutus Agents. Today, I'm joined by Todd Torbert, the president and co-owner of Level 1 General Construction, a full-service general contractor based in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Todd and his wife Julie built Level 1 around a simple but demanding idea: serve people in need after storms with a spirit of honor and leave every property better than they found it. In this conversation, we'll dig into Todd's journey, how he's scaled a values-driven construction business in a competitive market, and what he's seeing on the front lines of construction in Dallas-Fort Worth area. So, Todd, it's great to have you on.
Good to be here.
Yeah, of course. So, let's start off with the short version of your journey. So, I know you mentioned in our previous call that you actually try to stay away from construction as long as possible. So, you did a little bit of work in finance, insurance, and then eventually a bit of roofing. So, can you kind of tell me more about that story and how you ended up running your own GC?
Yeah, well, I grew up in East Texas. My dad has been around the world twice on a high school education in construction, industrial, commercial, fabrication, erection, all of it. Claim to fame, first subroof on a retractable sports stadium in North America. It was in Houston, that kind of stuff. Growing up, I worked with my hands every evening and Saturday morning. That's just what we did for fun. Obviously, I didn't think it was too fun, but from there, I was skilled. I played some college football, skill trade. From there, got married young. Was in sales, enjoyed that, and sales management. Kind of enjoyed that. From there, went into financial services. And a buddy of mine, as the economy started tanking in '07, '08, the economy started tanking. A buddy of mine said, "Hey, come go to work for this roofing company." And I'm like, man, I have no desire to walk on a roof. I worked hard, long and hard to wear a suit and tie to work. And 3 months later, I thought, you know what? I'll try. And worked for 2 or 3, 4 storms. They were a 20, $25 million a year company, but I saw all kind of holes in the game. And I just went and told the guy, hey, man, I'm going out on my own. I can do this. I'm 40 some odd years old. I've done it all. And I just started with the support of my wife, business card and a dream. And there you go. Built it from a business card and a dream. We've been as big as 30 employees, 14, 16 trucks. Had a lot of success early in the middle. We've been in business 15 years. As the economy changed, as the business model changed, we delved more into general construction and remodeling. We do 4 things really well, 5. We do commercial roofing, residential roofing, commercial build outs. We do build outs on homes. We just made a second story, made a story and a half house, 2 stories complete. We added 1,100 square feet. Our bread and butter is kitchen and bath remodel.
Awesome. So yeah, you've built a pretty successful company so far. Could you
Right.
maybe take us back to the moment you decided I'm going to go out on my own? What was happening at that time that kind of pushed you over the edge?
I saw flaws in the company that I was working for. Everybody had a ceiling on them. You could make good money, but you couldn't. There was no career advancement or any of that. And finally, I thought, and I could see they were going to have problems within 2 years of me leaving. Well, not because I left, but just because of bad business practices. They they went down. Anyway, I set things up. I had the right background. I had finance, management, sales, construction. It was just the right time. So, uh, no, I'm a spiritual guy. So I knew in January I wanted to, and started praying over it. And then felt like God told me to prepare your business and all that, and I'll let you know when to go. Mid year, He goes, go. So that's when I went in and talked to them. They owed me a bunch of money, and I wasn't sure I'd get paid. But the man paid me everything he owed me. I did everything I was supposed to for him. And I'd hug his neck now if I was going across his path. So
Yeah,
it was
that's
good.
yeah, absolutely. I was going to say that's the best way to part ways. And you really had kind of a holistic background of just all aspects of business. So you were
Right.
kind of had the perfect path direction to really get into your own business. And I know you
hmm
said you started in roofing and then kind of evolved into a GC. So what had to change in the way you thought about jobs from when you went
Well,
to we're the roofing guys to, we do everything?
right. So I'm in Texas, and the health capital of the world, and I do mean the world, is from about Austin, right up 35 and work your way into Denver, Colorado. That's just the hell capital of the world. There's a lot of insurance companies that won't insure and work here now. But what happened after first year or two, it's about a 6 to 8 month deal. It's boom and then it's bust. So 9 out of 10 roofers, I got this from GAF back when I first started. 9 out of 10 roofers fail in the first 2 years. Of the ones that make it 5 years later, they're not typically in business because they can't handle the expansion and contraction. People started calling me and said, "Hey, you showed up on time, did everything you said you would do. Would you be interested in, painting the inside of a home? Can you remodel a bathroom? Can you add on?" I'm not the sharpest knife in the drawer, but eventually I catch on, and I go, you know what? If I have the same guys working year round and they get a check every Friday, I bet they're a whole lot more loyal. And they are. So anyway, and people feel better about writing you a $50,000 check or to remodel their home than they do about a $3,000 check to pay their deductible on the roof. You'll feel you. So anyway, that's the turning point was probably COVID when I focused exclusively on that type of stuff. My wife walked in and said, "Hey, we're down 90% 3 months in a row. You go down that far, that long." And we were incorporated, right? We were W-2 in the right places. So the PPP helped us. But anyway, she goes, "Quit working on the company and go work in the company." And I discovered I really prefer to be on the job site in the living room with people. Wednesdays is accounts payable and payroll. I have to be here for that meeting, give direction. Friday morning is meetings with employees. Midday Friday is advertising, that kind of stuff. December is usually slow. So I get to talk to guys like you. But yeah, that's when we figured it out. And really, we had always focused. The name of the company is Level One, always on the level, always making the customer number one. That's how we arrived at that. And I just really started focusing in 2020 on trying to make it a world-class experience. We cut the overhead down, we shrunk the company. We had a lot of employees, handled a lot of money, made money. There was a lot of headaches. We had offices in Austin, Oklahoma City, Shreveport, Louisiana. So it was busy just hopping around overseeing those. Anyway, we enjoy what we do. We're more of a boutique company now, and most of my customers know me. We do second, third, and fourth jobs for customers. So normally if if the bath needs remodeling, there's a kitchen or another bath soon to be done, or a patio cover or something along that line.
Yeah, I know this industry is very relationship driven, and it's great you've had such high highs despite, some of the pretty low lows like you were saying during COVID. And that statistic about roofers, you said like 9 and 10 don't really survive. I had a podcast with a roofer in South Florida, and he was saying the same thing. The market is extremely competitive, and it's just a bunch of guys and like guy in a truck kind of companies. They don't make it, but the real ones, they get through it. But
Right.
kind of going along with the highs and lows, what was really a high point that kind of stands out to you? That could be maybe a year, a project, or a turning point that made you think, we're in a good place now.
Financially, I just put a plan together, and more of it was when I was in finance. When I was in finance, it amazed me how many small business people were clueless. So I prayed about it and received some things that I needed to do. You need to have a checking account. Well, I've got one. You have a savings account. I got one. You have a bill pay account. You need to automate your finances. And when I went into business for myself, I said, okay, now we'll take that and you have an operating account. You have a bill pay account. You have an overhead account. You have a tax account because God knows the government's going to get paid. Then you have a warranty account because at some point in time, somebody did something wrong and you have to take care of it. In addition, you have to have an account. We call it a truck account because so we can replace trucks as needed. So, and you fill each one of those buckets. And I used to do the books out of the big long. I didn't use QuickBooks or any of that. I'd use the big accounting ledger. I was old school. The first 2 years I walked in and my CPA goes, "What the hell is this?" And I said, "What do you want to know?" And she goes, "What did you spend on advertising in March?" Like, right here. So it was just part of it. So it was something I brought over from my background. Anyway, one night, it was 2017. I got a phone call from the CPA, and he goes, "Hey, you're making a bunch of money, and you need to go spend some." My wife walks in, and I go, "CPA just called me. I never dreamed we'd have that much money." So we just done it and just put our head down and work. So that was an aha moment. That was the good aha moment. One job in particular that we did was it was in a gated community. It was a very high end home, and one of my salesmen said, "Hey, I'm going to need you on this." And so I said, "Okay." So I go meet the customer, and it's hoity toity and all that implies. I walk up and I go, "Holy smokes! It looks like the Dallas Arboretum all around this house." I mean, just we wound up insurance paid 20 grand to build structures to protect all of it. And the husband goes, "My wife is handicapped and my life is a problem. She's not happy. And she's not watching that TV, just not happy." So we called and paid an exorbitant amount out of our pocket, didn't get reimbursed for it, to have the satellite guy there. So when we unhooked and roofed, we could put it right back down, and he lined it up and calibrated it for us. That was one that a project that I was really proud of, just the teamwork, because we had to have cranes, we had to have all kinds of stuff. And I've done some big churches in other areas that was nice. I smile every time I drive by them. Anyway, when you do them 2 or 3 times in a row, that's nice. So those are key moments that I remember.
Yeah, so during that stretch of good times, well, I mean, first of all, that's a great call to get from your CPA. Is say you got a lot of money, you got to start spending. And it was really both a financial side of things, you were in a good place, but your team was also great at the time. So what's on the flip side? I know you mentioned during COVID it was really rough. So on the flip side,
Back
what's kind of been the toughest stretches of business you've had?
The toughest stretch that I had was the following year in COVID. It was 21. There was a polar vortex in Texas. I mean, the city, Dallas, Fort Worth, froze solid. We had -5, -10 degree temperatures for like a week, and you couldn't do anything. And then when things started thawing out, well, we're not built for that stuff in the South. We are now, or we're starting to now, but yeah. So as things started thawing out, everything started flooding. Our phones started ringing. We signed up 170 jobs in 3 days, put a stop to it. I said, "Stop." I said, "We have to build all this stuff. There's going to be material shortage. There's going to be labor shortage. There's going to be, and we're weak in one place, insurance interior. If it was exterior, we could do that walking backwards with our eyes closed. But we'd had some personnel change, and I had to train people on the fly. No, I'd been in business a long time at that point, and I'm starting at 6 in the morning and working till midnight. New salespeople, new administrators, new people learning to haggle with insurance and operate the software. Yeah, it was a mess. And my wife and I made a livable income that year, but my company didn't make any money. And that sucks when you work all year and not to make it. So
Oh yeah,
that was probably
absolutely. No, yeah, that it sounds like it. Yeah, I know there's a lot of contractors too, just at all times, live in like a feast or famine kind of cycle. So, what were maybe one or two decisions that you made around pricing, project types, marketing, whatever it may be, that helped you smooth out the revenue?
I drove my first truck 300,000 miles.
Wow.
Uh, Instead of getting a new one, instead of replacing it, I'd go, nobody's going to take care of it. So I bought, we paid cash for all of our equipment everywhere. That was one of it. And we stayed pretty much below our means for a long, 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 long time. I don't know that we would have made it out of um, the pandemic had we not been incorporated properly and benefited from some of the PPP. We were just a couple of weeks away from me going, "Okay, I'm going to shut this down and get one good show." But that came through, and it did what it was supposed to do. And then the next year, the polar vortex, that was tough. I made a decision to go out of town and chase some storms. And we had Dallas Fort Worth, and it was over in East Texas, Northeast Texas. We had Dallas Fort Worth pricing and overhead, and it's a different region. And I had been all over. I'd been all the way to Phoenix, Arizona. I'd been to, you know, Houston. I'd been to Monroe. I'd been to Oklahoma City. Anyway, I didn't see that one coming. Those are some of the lumps. But because we managed the money right for so long, we were able to handle some of those. So,
Got you. Yeah, if you were traveling all over like that, it makes sense you got 300,000 miles in that first truck. But living below your means, especially when I know you were saying you got that call, it's like, "Hey, you have a lot of money, you gotta start spending
Right. I
it."
had to go.
That
Yeah, I had to spend.
shows Oh, yeah, I was just gonna say that shows that you were really living below your means.
Right. Yeah. Well, and that was back uh, bonus depreciation where you could spend, if it was the right truck, you could spend 75,000. I think you could spend up to $500,000. And I didn't buy that kind of equipment. So yeah, I
Yeah.
had to weigh a certain amount. Anyway, thank God for smartest thing I did was get the right CPA.
Oh, yeah, so the right hires is super key too,
Now,
right?
when somebody goes into business, they need to figure out what they're going to do when somebody chooses not to pay them because at some point it will happen. It's happened to me twice. Not for inadequate work. Just had a lady look me in the eye and go, "You're not going to sue me. I'm not going to give you this last 38 hours.
Oh,
Yeah, I'm going to hug your neck and I'm going to walk over to the truck and you're going to see me get on the phone. That's going to be my attorney. So, what are you going to do when somebody doesn't pay you? What are you going, can you handle going 30, 60, 90 days of no work and not getting paid? Can you handle success? Those are the kind of things you have to, handling the hard time is not as nearly as hard as handling success. There's $100,000 trucks running all over Dallas Fort Worth with general construction written all over them. That if they don't get a storm or they don't get a deal, they're gonna lose the truck. I know half a dozen of them.
yeah, absolutely. That's actually funny you had a story like that too, where someone didn't pay you. The last roofer I had on here had a similar story where he did a $17,000 roof and then just didn't get paid, and he was knew he couldn't do anything about it. So I guess that happens, which sucks. But I know you talk about the hires, and you hired a really good CPA, but you also had that finance and insurance background that not a lot of contractors have. So
Mhm.
among the other things you've mentioned about it, how did that background show up in how you run level one, and what's maybe a lesson from what you learned during those years that you'd say tattoo on a contractor's arm, every contractor's arm?
Don't get mad, get the money. People are frustrating. People will, at times, not everybody, 95%, we run 97, 98% customer satisfaction. Uh, 97 to 98% of people out there just want to be treated well, taken care of. And then you've got, anywhere from 1% to 3%, but if you hung them with a new rope, they wouldn't be happy. That's a Texas saying. But anyway, work on your business as much as you can instead of in your business. So Fridays, I work on employees and those relationships and marketing. We're about to shut down Friday, with the exception of a couple of hours on the next two Tuesdays. We're off, and that'll be my time to renew. And that's when I'll come up and I'll get ideas and I'll probably rearrange some things within the company, rearrange some financing. I almost killed myself um, because I would start at 6, 7 in the morning. I would work all day. I wouldn't eat. Uh, I worked from home when I first started. I'd take a nap on the couch. I'd go upstairs and work till 12, 1 or 2, go to bed 3 or 4 hours, get up and do it again. Gained a bunch of weight. Just was not healthy at all. So I would say learn to balance life. And it's hard whenever you have a feast or famine deal.
Yeah, no, definitely. It's true what you're saying, work on the business, not in the business. And I wanted to talk about that too. So going a little bit into decisions and systems, I want to ask about your marketing efforts too. But first, as the owner, where do you still stay very hands-on, and where have you learned to step back and really trust your team to handle it?
Office process. So when you walk in our office, there's 3 suites that have 2 desks in each one. So a deal should come in when it's sold. It should come in suite 1, cross that desk, come to suite 2, cross those 2 desks, go to suite 3, cross those 2 desks, be filed and done. So get the processes and procedures down. Everybody knows their job. Everybody knows what's supposed to happen. Communication. We communicate in our software and via text. I hate texting, but it's a necessary deal. And like to check jobs, nobody knows when I'm going to show up on the job. Why? That's the only way you can inspect what you expect. Some contractors don't know, employees don't know. Well, most of the time I don't tell the office. Sometimes I don't even tell my wife. Sometimes I don't know. I'll just be driving on the west side of the metro and go, we got a job over here. Or I know I'm going to be where I'm going to be. And I'll go, what jobs can I spot you? Did I answer your question?
Yeah, no, you did. And that's pretty smart to kind of show up unexpected because you're right, you can really see what's going on. Like how it would be day to day. What about maybe like simple habits or routines that you have to make sure everything's going smoothly?
When things are going smooth, I'll wake up somewhere between 3:30 and 6:30 in the morning, naturally. Spend a little quiet time with the man upstairs. I'll meditate a little bit. I might jump a little bit. I'll get some cardio in, some weightlifting. I'll glance emails, this, that, and the other, give some direction. And I tell everybody, turn your phone off because I may email you or text you at 2:30 in the morning. I don't expect a response, but if it wakes me up and that's what I'm thinking of, that's what I'm going to do. And then I may take off at 12 o'clock one day and say, is everything running okay? Do y'all need me? I'm fixing to check out. So I kind of get into the ebb and flow. Keeping me sharp is the most important thing because nobody brings me any employees and subcontractors. The office, they usually call with issues because everybody knows their job. Everybody knows what they're supposed to do. So I deal predominantly with problems.
Yeah, fighting fires. So you mentioned you do a lot of ad spend and your revenue is pretty consistent with some organic leads coming in. So
Right.
let's let's say you had to shut off one marketing channel and double down on another. Which one's really proven itself to you?
So I think I'm responsible for this, and the age of our employees and our processes and procedures are probably responsible for this. But our ideal customer is between 45 and 65, maybe 70. We're fixing to do a kitchen for a lady that's 75, and she goes, "This is the last kitchen I'm ever going to do, Todd." Okay, let's make it the way you want it. And it's cool when people are that transparent. But so I, as a human being, am very relational. Uh, a generation or two back is more transactional. Hey, I'll be nice and all that, but it's all about the money, this, that, and the other. And if I need you, I'll call you. So I've got to get some youth in here to really leave the legacy that I want to leave. Just sell a customer list and the assets when I get ready to retire. Knowing who you are is very important, and that's who I am. So, do we ever go run calls and do stuff for you? Absolutely. You just don't get the. I just don't build a rapport with him that I do with somebody that's my age or older. So, um, therefore, I said all that to say this: print, television work very well for us. When I say print, I'm talking magazines, things like that, neighborhood newspapers. What does not work well for us is SEO, Google Ads, Facebook. The success that we've had on Facebook is on our personal Facebooks. So we'll post jobs that we finish. Sales guys will post jobs that finish. Then it'll go that way. But then what you wind up doing is building something for somebody they're leaving at some point. So, and I attribute it to me as an owner and the way I am and my age. So,
No, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I can see how those are most beneficial for you right now. And you talked a little bit about kind of the legacy you want to leave when you retire. I know you were telling me you turn 61 in January, right?
Mhm.
And then you've kind of got a good 5 to 7 years left before you retire. So when you picture that timeline, what has to happen between now and then for you to feel it's the right time and like that you've raced well, if that makes sense?
My health needs to hold up. My wife's health needs to hold up. And then as you age, I'm not as driven as I was 10 years ago. With my energy level and my drive, I don't have it to do what I did 15 years ago. Time and circumstances are always a great part of it. So balance is more important to me. So my wife and I do a lot of country dancing. So we'll go dance for 2 or 3 days at a time. So I would like to do more of that as long as our health holds up. I had an employee that wasn't much older than me die of a heart attack April 28th. Bam! Talking to
Damn,
him on a Sunday, gone on a Monday. I mean, 1:30 in the morning. Monday.
that's
So
terrible.
the guy was climbing a roof on Saturday. So he was pretty dang healthy. That's what we thought. So you never know. But my health has to hold out. And that's why I do the emotional, physical things that I do to keep my head screwed on straight. But when I'll know when it's time. In my retirement, if I don't find somebody to buy it or somebody that wants to be the legacy of it, Legacy was didn't turn out the way we thought it would. And my retirement might be doing one bathroom a month or one roof a month or whatever. I don't know. So I'll seek the good Lord on that.
Yeah, no, for sure. So it's really just about making sure there's balance at all times throughout your life in all aspects, not just the business.
And yeah, and there's going to be seasons that balance is a fictitious. It's a figment of your imagination. The first 5 years, there was nothing balanced. It was all about this company. Michael Jordan, that dude wasn't balanced. He was obsessed. Uh, you're great. Troy Aikman, he wasn't balanced. He was obsessed. Jimmy Johnson, the perfect example of doing great things and going, it didn't worth it anymore. He run the family, missed a bunch of stuff, and then figured it out. So great things are not accomplished by balance. There are times that you have to be unbalanced, but you have to be cognizant and make sure, ooh, I need to not lose my wife and my children and all of that. But there's nothing wrong with taking some stretches. But being a believer, I typically take one day a week as a Sabbath. That's just a day of rest. Doesn't necessarily a day of worship, it's a day of rest. So anyway, I try real hard to do that. Again, I was awake at 3 o'clock this morning working on stuff.
Wow.
So yeah.
Yeah, no, it's definitely good to have balance at times, but you're right. There are definitely a lot of times where sacrifice is necessary. I was listening to a podcast recently. I don't remember who, but he was quoting somebody else. How in life you can kind of think of it as a stovetop. So there's four burners. One is, friends and family, life, and then business, like career or health. You can't
Uh,
have all of them on at the same time. You can get maximum three, maybe two is really perfect. So you got to really prioritize what's best at that time.
get a chance to go to YouTube and see stones in a jar, rocks in a jar, and how they fill it up and how you have a full life. And it's a great thing on how to stay balanced and take care of the important stuff.
That's
My customers are not going to remember me uh, roofing their house or adding on to their house, or 20 years from now. But I got kids and grandkids and wives that will remember what I did and didn't do. I got an ex-wife and a wife. I just got corrected. So
yeah. No, absolutely. That's the legacy you want to leave behind. You'll have people that do remember you, have people that won't. But I want to ask you two more questions. So this first one I like to ask to a lot of the guests. So let's say hypothetically you have a magic wand, right? And you can fix or erase one bottleneck in the business right now that could maybe double your momentum or give you time back because you want to make sure your life is balanced. What would that one thing be?
operations manager resigned a week after an employee passed, and he did go out in business for himself. I'm not replacing him. So I wind up bottlenecking some stuff. I had 6 years invested in that guy. So that would be the move. And I thought I had somebody hired. Let's do that. But that would be the bottleneck right now that would free up a lot of things. Uh,
Yeah.
my heart's in sales. That's what I really enjoy. That's what I enjoy the most. But the processes, procedures, administration, execution in the field, all of this.
Yeah, 100%. Honestly, I think most of the owners that I speak to are interested in the sales side because most of them are the sales team. It's just like owner-based sales.
Well, nothing can be built, nothing can be solved, nothing until something's sold. You have to sell something in order to do something. So,
Yeah, no, it's a great thing to know and understand it. Like the psychology behind sales is super important as well. But so here's the last question I want to ask. If you were talking to a younger roofer or GC who's maybe 20, 30 years behind you, what's one thing that you would tell them to do differently than you did?
get a formal education, take a couple of classes in accounting, take a couple of classes in basic electrical, also in plumbing. Go work. Do it in your early 20s. Do it the first 2 to 4 years you're in business. Go be a plumber's helper. Go be a electrician's helper. Go frame. make damn sure you learn Spanish. Go take a couple of night classes in accounting so you can know how to read a spreadsheet or a balance sheet, P&L, profit and loss. I learned all of that from my financial background and my upbringing. But this doesn't do it. You got to have a lot of this and a lot of that. So, and you don't have to have a lifetime of it. Both my sons graduated and they are doing college and are doing extremely well in life. Both have masters, but they worked on a ranch or they waited on tape. They worked from the time they were 15 in the summers, and as long as they played sports, they didn't have to have a day job, have a job. So I wanted to be busy, but they needed to learn what hard and physical work was. Consequently, all of my grandchildren know what hard and physical work is. So if you can speak and work, and then you put a little technical stuff with it, you'll always be able to make a living. And nobody
That's
can pull the wool over your eyes.
Yeah, that's great advice. You got to always be taking action, always be willing to learn and want to learn everything.
And that janitor over there is just as important as that CEO. Because that janitor knows things that CEO is clueless of. And you're there to probably work on the building or add on to the building or do something.
100%, 100%. Well, thank you, Todd. That was awesome. It was very interesting learning more about your transitions, from finance, insurance to roofing and then a full service GC. So, especially the highs and lows, it's very interesting to hear over your, long career, the various ways the economic cycles have affected the business too. But before we close out, Todd, where should people connect with you? Is there a place you're most active, maybe a website or LinkedIn?
Level, LEVEL, the number one, G is in general, C is in construction.com, level1gc.com. They can call the office, 469-569-3551. I should know the 800 number, but it's been so long as I've given it out. Yeah, 888-505-3836 is my fax. So, yeah, everybody finds me on LinkedIn, and I never use it. So I'm not looking for a job. My great weakness is not networking in LinkedIn. Facebook, I do for fun. I do show a lot of my jobs off. But yeah, call the office, 469-569-3551, level1gc.com. Todd at level1gc.com.
Perfect. Well, I'll link some information below for anyone that wants to check you out. But for the listeners, thanks for tuning in to The Intelligent Builder. If you found this episode valuable, make sure to share it with another builder or founder in your circle. And I'll see you in the next one. Thank you, Todd.
Thank you.